10 days before arriving in Dublin, I still don't have a home. And honestly, this is probably the most stressful part of moving to Ireland that I didn't fully understand when I started planning the move. I have been looking for a place to live for almost 3 months, since May 2026. 3 months of checking listings, 3 months of sending messages, 3 months of emails, applications, documents, explanations, and mostly waiting. And I'm still looking. Too few homes, too many people. The first problem is simple. There aren't many homes available, and there are a lot of people looking for them. Take Rathmines, for example. I might see dozens of listings that look suitable. One search recently showed around 56 properties that could potentially work for me, but the number that actually matters is much smaller. I contacted many of them. Only 3 landlords replied. That's the part that can be difficult to understand when you're looking from outside Ireland. Finding a listing doesn't mean you have found a home. You still need the landlord to reply. Then you need to meet their requirements. Then you need them to accept your application. And sometimes, after all that, the property is already gone. The problem with being new. The second problem is even harder. Most landlords want to see things that make perfect sense if you already live and work in Ireland. Proof of salary, employment details, Irish bank statements, previous landlord references, proof of income, sometimes several other documents. But what happens when you're new to Ireland? You don't have an Irish salary yet. You don't have a long Irish banking history. You may not have an Irish landlord reference, and trying to explain why can be surprisingly difficult. Sometimes you send a detailed explanation. You provide other documents. You explain your financial situation. You try to show that you can comfortably afford the rent. And then, nothing. No reply. That's probably one of the most frustrating parts of the whole process. It's not necessarily that they say no. You simply don't hear anything. 2 replies. After months of searching, I have had only 2 landlords who seriously responded to my situation. The first option was a studio. It was available, and at least it gave me a possible way into the Dublin rental market. But the studio was simply too small for what I need. The second option is more promising. The landlord wants me to view the property in person before accepting an application. That creates another problem. I'm not in Dublin yet. I'm still in Vietnam. So I've had to ask a friend to go and view the property for me. They went to see it. Now I'm waiting. Hopefully, I'll know the results sometime next week. Maybe it will work. Maybe it won't. At this point, I'm trying not to get too attached to any particular property. And now, there are only 10 days left. This is where things become a little stressful. I arrive in Dublin in 10 days. At the moment, I have only booked temporary accommodation for 1 night. That gives me somewhere to sleep when I arrive, but it obviously doesn't solve the housing problem. So now, I'm facing another decision. Should I book another 10 days, or perhaps even a month? The problem is that temporary accommodation in Dublin isn't cheap. Every extra day costs money, but leaving Dublin without somewhere to live is also a risk. And even if I stay for another 10 days, there is no guarantee that I will find a place. I still have to ask, will a suitable property become available? Will the landlord reply? Will they accept someone who is new to Ireland? Will I be allowed to apply? Will I need to view it in person? Can someone go and view it for me? And after all that, will they actually choose me? It's a long chain of uncertainties. This is the part people don't always see. When you decide to move to another country, it's easy to imagine the big things. Getting the visa, booking the flight, packing your bags, arriving at the airport, starting a new life. But sometimes the hardest part is something much more ordinary. Where are you going to live? For someone already living in Ireland, renting a home is difficult enough. For someone arriving from another country with no Irish rental history, no Irish salary, and no established local network, it can feel like a completely different game. You can have the money, you can have the documents, you can be financially secure, you can be a responsible tenant, but none of that necessarily makes finding the actual property easy. And that's what I've learned after 3 months of searching. 10 days to go. So here I am, 10 days before Dublin, one night of accommodation booked, one possible apartment waiting for a decision, a friend helping me view properties, and another 10 days to figure everything out. I'm still optimistic, but I'm also realistic now. Finding a home in Dublin isn't simply a matter of finding a nice apartment and paying the rent. For a newcomer, it's a process of searching, messaging, waiting, explaining, viewing, applying, waiting again. And sometimes you go all the way through that process only to start again. Maybe this will all be part of the story later. Maybe in a few weeks, I'll be sitting in my new Dublin home, looking back at this post and laughing about how stressful it felt. I hope so. For now, though, the search continues. 10 days to Dublin. Let's see where I end up. What about you? If you've moved to Dublin, especially if you came from another country, how did you find your first home? Did you secure a place before arriving? Did you stay in temporary accommodation first? Did a friend view the property for you? Or did you simply arrive in Dublin and start looking? I'd love to hear your story, share your experience. It might help someone else who is currently going through the same thing. See you in Dublin.